Welcome to River Tales. River Tales is a 30-minute program that will introduce you to fascinating people, take you to interesting places, and inform you on events in your local community. River Tales is brought to you by Southeast Health.
I really enjoy cycling, have loved racing bikes for over 30 years now. I needed back surgery. I chose Southeast Health to have that done. I knew in the recovery room that I was better. I just didn't know how much better until I got out and completed my recovery. I'm back on the bike, feeling very comfortable in riding, and what a really nice experience it was to have that personal care from both my neighbors and my friends.
The procedure, from what I understand, is a lot different than most doctors.
It's called an anterior approach hip replacement. An anterior approach is muscle sparing, so I don't have to take off any of the muscles that attach to the top of the femur bone.
You don't have to be in pain. Just like picking up my grandson. Now I'm back to where I can carry him, I can play with him, and it's almost easy to forget that I ever had the pain.
It's a simpler solution because the patients get back to living, and I think that's what healthcare should be about.
On this edition of River Tales, we'll visit with artists at Southeast Missouri State, tour the Tiger Sanctuary at Crown Ridge, see the new exhibits at the Cape River Heritage Museum, and visit an iconic music store in Cape Girardeau. Stay tuned to River Tales. Open Serena was the name given to a special one-night exhibition of student artwork that included painting, metal shop, wood shop, and mixed media studio at the Serena Gallery on the campus at Southeast Missouri State University. The unique blend of arts and crafts made for an interesting experience for all visitors.
Open Serena, it's a event put on by students here at Southeast. It's just a night of art that's out of the ordinary, non-traditional, bizarre. It's really interesting stuff.
I feel like it was primarily for, I felt like it was more for sculpture students and kind of be more work with space than we do image and things like that. So I feel like we actually got to use the entire building in a way that we wanted to. We could like use whatever kind of sculptural thing that we've been working on or wanted to work on. We could use this space to do that. It's like a shop. I mean, it has a wood shop and a metal shop. It has a painting studio. It really doesn't have any gallery space. I mean, it has like a, a small section to show work in, but it's more free roaming. It's I don't know, it's more of like an industrial building. It's not really meant to be used as a gallery.
Anything from performances to, just your basic paintings, to sculpture, to installations, to even music and dancing. We try to incorporate, not only do we have just arts, the fine arts, visual arts students here, we also bring in English, we bring in musicians, people of the music department and dancing department. Just try to really incorporate everybody and just make a really interesting collab of different things.
We kind of lined the hallways with paintings and just kind of randomly put pedestals and showed smaller sculpture there. We did installations in rooms that we felt could work for an installation. We actually had down in the metal shop, we had this very large performance piece that included our teacher's sculptures as kind of an installation. We set everything up leaded everyone down there at the end of the night, and kind of did this performance and created a whole atmosphere that you wouldn't normally get in any other kind of place.
You're gonna be surprised, you're gonna be interested, you're gonna see some humorous things. Lots of different emotions you get from this. You know, because like I said, it's bizarre, it's off the wall, it's everything. We can put paintings on the wall over at River Campus, but we never really had a space to do these other things we want to do, so we figured why not do it here.
Really the difference between art in Serena building as opposed to art in a normal gallery is it's kind of put together all at the last minute. I mean, there's a little bit of planning.
It's not your white wall gallery. It doesn't have dedicated spaces to view art. It's a building walking. You walk through classrooms, you walk through studios, but we transform the space into something that make the space work for the art. Really, Open Serena has been a couple years now. We try to do it at least once a year, and we'd like to do it more often if we can get it together.
We have to be even more creative in showing and presenting work or creating things, just kind of like any kind of performance or installation. So it ends up being kind of experimental, I guess, instead of planned out.
Serena is very highly collaborative. Most of the art in it's not really made beforehand. It's more like, oh, we have this show to put on, so let's make art specifically for it. So yes, it's highly performance based. We try to collab because it's really our own opportunity to really. It's a great opportunity to get at your classmates and really come together and get closer with your classmates and work in ways they do, you know, and share ideas and then come up with something together. On campus, Serena really isn't noticed for what it is. It's a building here in the main campus that, yeah, of course, art happens over at River Campus, but we have plenty of art here on main campus. And we just want to let people on the campus know that we're here, the community know that we're here, and that we know how to have fun and make awesome art.
Crown Ridge Tiger Sanctuary is a non-profit big cat rescue facility that provides permanent, lifelong care for abused, neglected, and unwanted big cats. Crown Ridge strives to maintain the animal's integrity by providing exceptional physical and mental care.
Welcome to Crown Ridge Tiger Sanctuary. We are a USDA-regulated, nonprofit big cat rescue facility. So it's our job to rescue animals that have been abused, neglected, or are in unwanted homes, and we bring them here to the sanctuary to provide them with lifelong care. Our mission is to give animals a voice by advocating for the conservation of them in the wild and then making sure that they are kept under the best conditions here in captivity. We definitely want to educate the public about these animals and the plight of them. So we do lots of educational tours here at Crown Ridge Tiger Sanctuary for both adults and for kids to let people know that these guys are extremely endangered and how they can help us and help our mission. Our current collection consists of 4 animals. We have 3 tigers and 1 feisty lioness. She doesn't let being the lone lion bother her at all. All of these guys, with the exception of 1 tiger, were rescued from a place called Exotic Animal Paradise, just outside of Springfield. That facility was actually shut down by USDA due to all the abuse and neglect that the inspectors found. At that time, we rescued a whole family group, Raja the mom, Mohan the father, and their 2 daughters, Gracie and Thor. We also rescued Alexis from that same situation. Izzy, our biggest guy, was rescued actually from a carnival. Unfortunately, people in the carnival were using him as a photo cat, and at 3 months old, he already was too big for people to handle any longer. It was not safe at all. So instead of the carnival owners finding him a more suitable home, they were just going to euthanize him and put him to sleep. It was much easier for them to find another cub just to replace him than to find him a better home. So we were able to intervene and rescue him, and now we will provide lifelong care for him. We've since lost 2 of the animals that we originally rescued. Raja we lost at the age of 22, which is very old, due to cancer. And Mohan, who we lost at age 20, we lost him due to old age. So we do plan to continue our rescue efforts though. We do have 55 acres here, and we would love to expand and further our efforts. So when you come to visit Crown Ridge Tiger Sanctuary, you'll notice that most of our animals are housed individually, and that's because tigers are solitary. So when tiger cubs are born, they only stay with their moms till they're about 18 months old. Then they're capable of living on their own. They can make a kill, they can hunt, and they can survive all by themselves. So they go off and lead a solitary life. Even though our animals are here in captivity, we want their lives to be as most naturalistic as possible. So we house our animals individually because that is what comes natural to them and what they prefer. However, there's exceptions to every rule, and we do have one of those exceptions here at the sanctuary. We do house 2 of our animals together, Thor and Gracie, most of the time. That is because they have a really special circumstance though. When we rescued Thor and Gracie, they were 5 years old. They had never been separated from each other and were very used to being together. In fact, they were a bonded pair almost. Gracie is 95% blind, and Thor was actually taking care of her from a number of different ways. One of them was by making sure that she had enough food. Both of these girls, unfortunately, were being starved to death. They were extremely emaciated when we received them. To give you an idea how bad they were, right now, currently, we give each animal around 10 pounds of meat a day, 10 pounds per animal per day. When we rescued them, they were receiving 1 turkey leg a day between the 2 of them. You know, that's not enough to feed me, much less 2 adult tigers at that point. Then we learned that Thor was actually not eating at all and giving all of the food to Gracie. So without Thor doing that, Gracie probably would not have even made it given her disability. Thor made sure that Gracie was fed. She also snuggled with her to make sure she kept warm. And between the 2 of them, that was enough, and they survived together. So when we rescued them at 5 years old, they had never been separated. In fact, they were inseparable, and they relied on each other just for survival. So we didn't want to be the first ones to separate them. So we've chosen to keep them together, and now they're 12 years old, and they are still happy and healthy together. Now we do separate them periodically just to give them some space, because they are true sisters, so they do have some sisterly moments here and there, but nothing ever forceful. It's all in good play. But we do separate them periodically just to give them some space so they can enjoy some alone time, again, which comes natural to them. When we do that though, Gracie still even today will call for her sister to make sure that she's in the area. And although Thor gets to eat her own food now and is quite happy to take food away from Gracie at this point because they're so comfortable, she does make sure that Gracie's always in a safe place. So when we shift animals from stall to stall, Thor always goes through first to make sure it's safe, and she'll turn around and make sure that Gracie's following behind her. So when you come to the Tiger Sanctuary, you'll have to be sure to check out the sisters that are very, very special to us and are generally always together. And if you're interested in actually seeing videos of our guys, be sure to check out our Facebook page. We update that quite regularly with new pictures and photos of events that have just passed. So lots of ways to keep caught up. We do have an event calendar that we update quite regularly that's also on our website. So be sure to check us out on one of our social media sites.
Since the founding of Cape River Heritage Museum in 1981, ever-changing exhibits introduce visitors of all ages to the life, culture, and heritage of Cape Girardeau and Southeast Missouri.
Cape Girardeau, Missouri, right off the corner of Frederick and Independence, the Cape River Heritage Museum building has been standing since August of 1908. The building started as a courthouse, jail, police, and fire station. Now it holds some of Southeast Missouri's most important information, like the founder of Cape Girardeau, Louis Larimer. There were also many presidential connections that came through Cape, like Roosevelt, Taft, Nixon, and Kennedy. The Cape River Heritage Museum not only gives the community identity, but it also shows the important people that influenced Southeast Missouri State University. For example, Hulk and Vanderbilt. The museum provides a rich experience for students to build exhibits for the community.
A historic preservation major really works with the tangible things that you can kind of see, buildings, artifacts, things like that. We work a lot in museums, archives. We work with the Main Street program, which is usually downtown programs in smaller cities. In larger cities, they're mostly like neighborhoods or subdivisions, kind of building those up, getting those educated, bringing them to the people. So a lot of what HP does is really bring the history to the people and keep it fresh, keep it interesting. It's a link. It's not just, you know, as historians, a lot of students just kind of write papers, do a lot of lectures, things like that, whereas historic preservationists are really in the field, hands-on kind of work.
Not many people can say that they've designed and built a museum exhibit. I mean, that's really cool and interesting. And so actually getting to do that, every aspect of it, from doing the research for the text boxes, which you learn about with your artifacts, to photographs, to designing, every single aspect of it has really been something that I've really enjoyed as a historic preservation student.
I worked in the fire exhibit that's currently up now, which focuses on the fire department then and now and major fires. And so we were sitting there and we're thinking, what can we do? Like, what are some really interesting ways of bringing the public in to really engage in what they have? And I think one of the great things has been we actually found an old fire hose that had been just kind of laying on the floor, and another HP student, Ellie Height, she pulled it out and we were kind of like, well, what can we do with this? Like, it's cool, it's interesting, like, yeah, it's just a fire hose, but like, what can we do to make it cool? So we actually pulled it out and drew fire with the fire hose, so it spelled out fire, and we actually hung that on the wall. And so it gives you a creative spark. You're thinking always like, yeah, there's a lot of just text boxes or something that they can write about, or pictures. We have so many pictures, but pictures only get and ingrain that message so far. So having something cool and tangible like fire written with a fire hose on a wall really brings the public in and brings their eye in, and you are able to impact more with that creativity.
Not many people who decide to go into museums have had the experience that we've had right off the bat, so that if you do go on to graduate school, that's when people actually really do work with exhibits, but we got to do that as an undergraduate student, and that's something that is very great for anyone who does want to go into museums.
The fire truck is actually kind of a problem. It's both a blessing and a problem. It's so large, but their condition was that the fire truck had to stay. And so there's this huge space, and when we first walked in there, it was ginormous because the truck was actually gone. They were working on it, so the truck was gone. So we were like, oh my gosh, we have all this space, like this is wonderful. And then Dr. Clements comes in and is like, well, there's gonna be a giant fire truck in here, so think accordingly, like plan around it. Then finally, I think it was like the last week, they moved it back in, and we were like, oh my gosh. Those doors actually opened at the end, the fire truck got in, and we thankfully had our entire exhibit basically up. So we didn't have to worry about maneuvering around it because it is a pain, but it's also a part of Cape.
I think that's something that is very important with local museums. It's something that helps, that makes them, stay a museum, is because of the history that they're able to bring to the community and to allow them to understand another aspect that is a part of their lives and their history.
Since 1949, Shivelbines Music Store has been serving musicians of all kinds with products and service. The history of the store and the significance to this region is shared by current owner Scott Shivelbine.
Hi everybody, my name's Scott Shivelbine. I am a officer and part owner of Shivelbine Music Store Incorporated. A family-owned business, now in its third generation. The first Shivelbines came from a country called Prussia. Charles William Frederick Shivelbine was a sailor, and he came over in New Orleans and had his own sailing ship in New Orleans and made a lot of money during the war with Mexico. Lost 2 children to yellow fever. He and his wife, Catherine Dirks Shivelbine, decided to get the heck out of that heat and humidity and moved to Chicago. They stopped in Cape Girardeau on the way up the river to visit her sister in Jackson, Missouri. They liked Cape so much that they decided just to stay here, so every Shivelbine since about 1858, I guess, has lived in Cape Girardeau. My grandfather, William August Shivelbine, was given the true gift from God of the musical ability of being able to play anything he wanted to, just about. He could pick out any kind of tune on the piano. He could play clarinet. He was the municipal band leader here in Cape Girardeau. He also was the high school band director. And he also wrote the Central High alma mater. He did all kinds of things musical. Had 2 sons, William Lewis and Leland Jean being my father. And William Adam Shivelbine, my grandfather, is the one who started the music store. So it's been a family tradition in Cape Girardeau for years and years. Going back prior to that, going to William August's father, whose name was August, he was a man in a time when most kids didn't get out of the county. His father, who had some money, was a sailor from New Orleans, sent him to study engineering in San Francisco in the 1870s. And then he got back from San Francisco, sent him to Germany, study more engineering. And he came back and he ran a grist mill for a while. The grist mill burned down. He opened a saloon called the Arcade, which is now the building called the Cup and Cork. He was quite the character. He's a member of the city council, big time active on the Cape County Fair Commission. And back in the day, the Cape County Fair was quite the event. August was very active in that. I have at my house a cane given to him by the Cape County Fair and Commission Board that says, "To August Shivelbine for all your work," and it's a 24 karat gold cane, beautiful. And also in August obit, it says, "To the man who practically built the Fairgrounds Park as we know it today," and we know Fairgrounds Park to be actually Capahau Park. So that's kind of a proud thing for the family, that we had a lot to do with the formation of Capahau Park, which I think really gives Cape its soul, gives it a tremendous amount of character. We've got a lot of proud family tradition in Cape, public service, had Lions Club, service clubs, all kinds of things like that. The community's been great to us, and we like to give it back when we can, through contributions and serving on the downtown boards for downtown preservation, Old Town Cape, all those kind of things. My dad was the guy that came up with the idea for Tunes of Twilight, which is a real popular Old Town Cape event that they have every summer. A business that started years ago as formerly became Shivelbines Music in 1949, when my grandfather, William August Shivelbine, bought out his partner, Raymond F., nicknamed Peg Meyer, who was his partner, and it became purely Shivelbine Music. Up until then, it was M&S Music. And then the roots of Peg Myers goes back to the 1930s, when he had his own band instrument rental and sales place, sold Martin instruments, and was stay-coursed by a company called St. Louis Music Incorporated. Peg was quite the music man. He created his own market. These little schools around the area, Delta, Oak Ridge, Bealstadt, you name it, all these little communities had small little country schools and they had no band director. So Peg would go around and rent them instruments and then go by once a week and give them lessons. So he was not only the salesman, but he was also the teacher. And he created, in effect, his own market, a true music band. His legacy goes back to the 1910s and 20s and 30s when he used to play dances with such names as Pegmeyer and the Melody Kings. They played up at the old Broadway Theater. They played dances. They played on the packet boats and on the river boats, excursion cruises, all kinds of things. Peg worked for us until almost his death, and that was about in 1992. My dad and grandfather took Shivelbines music over. Peg continued to work as a band instrument repairman, and we're making a go of it when my grandfather developed heart disease and died. To come to his relief was my uncle, William Lewis Shivelbine, my uncle Bill, who had an engineering degree from Rolla and was a very intelligent man, but he loved to play clarinet. He gave up his big-time career to come back and run a mom-and-pop music store with his brother, L.J. or Leland. My dad's nickname was Freck, for Freckles was his nickname. He came back about 1950, 1951, something like that, and we were in our old building up at 630 Broadway. And with a lot of work and good luck, they sold pianos, they sold organs, they sold you know, some of the first electric guitars made by Leo Fender guitars, and then the Gibsons, the Les Pauls, all those things that are now tremendously valuable. Some worth 6 figures we had up at our store. The music store is owned by myself and my 2 brothers, Greg and Mike. My cousin, Bill Shivelbine, has his own separate company called Shivelbine Music and Sound, and he deals with guitars, amplifiers, PA equipment, and keyboards. We specialize in school music, calling on schools, getting kids started in playing clarinet, flute, the basic instruments, flute, clarinet, trumpet, trombone, and percussion. And then every once in a while an oboe player or a French horn, sometimes a baritone. And that's what we continue with to this day. Where we go around, we service over 100 schools in southeast Missouri, southern Illinois, northeastern Arkansas, all the way up to Festus, Crystal City, all the way over in Illinois, Pinckneyville, Carterville, all over southern Illinois, and then parts of the Boot Heel, and then Jonesboro, Arkansas. So quite a territory that we would cover.
Well, I've suffered from arthritis for at least 20 years. I really waited way too long to get something done.
Arthritis of the base of your thumb is an incredibly common complaint. I basically weave the tendon through another tendon, making the 2 pieces one.
I got my mobility back. I got my strength back. And that's something that's always been very important to me.
There really are fairly simple solutions that do not invade into your life, and that gives us the most satisfaction at the end of the day.
I was diagnosed with breast cancer. I went to see Dr. Mosley at the Cancer Center.
Julie has championed and pioneered through this journey with the greatest confidence. She's back living her life the way she wants to live it.
Even though I was at a cancer center in this horrible time of my life, it was made special.